This is an input delay test between Xbox Series X controller and Razer Wolverine V2 Chroma controller. They are both not overclocked, they are both stock, straight out of the box, and in this video you will know which controller is the best, which controller is more responsive, and which controller has less latency spikes and less input delay. So let's start with Xbox Series X controller. Okay, so ignore this says polling rate 100, but it's actually 125 hertz polling rate, and since it's 125 hertz, it should be constant 8. But as you can see here, the latency spikes to 12. 11.9 is it means 12. So the latency spikes, it goes to 12 and goes down to 4 and it goes up to 8. It should be 8 millisecond, but as you can see here, this controller is so bad that there's so much latency, so many latency spikes. So you can ignore this 2000. This is a human error, and this is also human. I mean, this is might not. Yeah, this is also ignore this average. I mean, we all know the average is 8. I mean 7.9 should be 7.9. Yeah. So as you can see here, this controller is very bad for competitive gaming. Buy PS5 controller and you can overclock it to 1 millisecond. And yeah, so another tip, you can actually decrease these latency spikes to very little by overclocking this Xbox Series X controller. And yeah, so what I mean, if you overclock this Xbox Series X controller, you can decrease these input delay, I mean these latency spikes. So let's say it spiked to 11.9 millisecond, let's say 150 times. If you overclock this Xbox Series X controller, you can decrease it from 150 times to like 30 or 40 times. So it's actually worth it to overclock your Xbox Series X controller if you are forced to play with this controller. Okay, so now I'm gonna do the Razer Wolverine V2 Chroma controller. Okay, so as you can see, it's constant 4 and the latency spikes to 8. So constant 4 millisecond and it has 250 hertz polling rate. Ignore this, and yeah, and ignore this. So the average is 3.9, and average is 4 millisecond, and polling rate is 250 hertz. The jitter is also very low. The Xbox Series X jitter has a very big jitter. I don't know if you saw, it has like 1.6 or something, and in my other test it has like 3.0 jitter. The jitter of the Xbox Series X is very bad. The jitter of the Razer Wolverine V2 Chroma controller is very good. And so let's analyze this. So it's 3, I mean it's 4, 4, 4, 4, and it goes to 8 millisecond. And even when it goes to 8 millisecond, it's, as you can see, it's so consistent. Like, it doesn't go up and down, it's so consistent, and goes back to 4 millisecond. So this controller straight up wins on the Xbox Series X. And another big tip I'll give, if you overclock this Razer Wolverine V2 Chroma controller, these 8 millisecond latency spikes won't gonna happen at all. It will be eliminated. It will be eliminated to 0. So when you test it again, it will be a 4 millisecond of input delay, a constant 4 millisecond of input delay at all the times if you overclock this controller. So yeah, so in this test, the Razer Wolverine V2 Chroma controller definitely wins. If you do not, even when you do not overclock it, it wins, and when you overclock it, it also wins on the Xbox Series X controller. Xbox Series X, when you do not overclock it, it's definitely bad, and when you overclock it, the latency spikes goes down a little bit, but still there's a lot of latency spikes on the Xbox Series X. And yeah, so I hope everything is clear for you guys.